What is the outlook for the Jaguars offense in 2020?
Right here.
If you're watching the show right now on YouTube, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. That helps us build this program, build this community, and keep bringing you that fresh fantasy football content. So we want to talk about another offense in the AFC, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of additions as far as through the draft. Some shakiness as far as Leonard Fournette's concerned. And then they, of course, bring in Jay Gruden as the offensive coordinator here. Johnny, looking at all the weapons and looking at Gardner Minshew, who seems to have the support of the franchise now, as they did not draft a quarterback, or at least not one with high capital. What is the outlook for the Jaguars offense in 2020?
There are definitely some nice pieces that I would definitely highly consider drafting come this August and September. Now, some people aren't as high on those, and because of that reason, because a lot of people aren't on the Jags bandwagon, a lot of people aren't talking about Gardner Minshew. Because of those reasons, these players are becoming more of a value in my eyes. Well, I'll start off with DJ Chark here. Really popped off last year. Really came onto the scene. It was his second year. Travis just alluded to the second year wide receivers. We start seeing a major shift. And that's what we saw with DJ Chark. Now, here's what the thing is, and the whole issue with DJ Chark is he only did it for 1 year. And so similar to a lot of these guys, on today's show that we'll talk about a little bit later, you'll see a trend of value that comes with these guys that, hey, they popped off. They showed us that they have it. They showed us that they could produce. But they didn't do it long enough to gain the full trust of the fantasy football community as a whole. And so for that reason, they are tending to fall in drafts. And you need to take advantage of that, especially DJ Chark. He is being significantly undervalued for the what he brings to that offense, what they're saying, what the coaching staff is saying about DJ Chark and what they plan to use him, how they plan to use him. So you like that. And Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole reason we brought this topic up, right? Offensive coordinator Jay Gruden said Tuesday that he believes the Jaguars could do a little bit more with DJ Chark this season, including using him out of the slot more often. And Johnny, I think to your point, that is good for him because essentially he's not the highest in snap share for a number one wide receiver. He's number 33 in the league as far as snap share is concerned.
Yeah.
He was also number 28 in target share at only 21.8% target share. That's 28th best in the NFL. Not great numbers out of a number one wide receiver that you'd like to see. But remember, this team used the heck out of Leonard Fournette last year, and they pounded the rock. They might be opening this thing up if Jay Gruden's coming to town, right? So what about Leonard Fournette, Johnny? What about Laviska Shenault?
So, one more thing I wanted to touch on the DJ Chark, because you brought up a great point, the slot, right? Because DJ Chark only played in the slot 20% of the time. But when he played in the slot, he got 20 targets. He caught 4 touchdowns out of those 20 targets. So you don't think that they'll try to move that? Jay Gruden's going to see that and move him over? Great. Leonard Fournette is going to be a guy that you're going to hear a lot of talk about. Leonard Fournette, don't draft him. And I've already started to hear it. People saying, don't draft Leonard Fournette. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Listen, if you're going to try to take Leonard Fournette in the first round, don't do that. But he's going late in the second, sometimes in the third round, and I think that's absolutely insane. You're going to grab it. Listen, yes, the passing volume, they brought in Chris Thompson, and the passing volume is not going to necessarily be there as much as last year, but he's still going to get that volume. And not only that, he only had 2 touchdowns all last year. There's no way he's only getting 2 touchdowns on 250 carries. It's impossible.
Well, 265 carries last year, Johnny. That could come down to 250, 240 range, but you're still happy with that. 2 touchdowns, still ended up the RB13, so just outside that RB1 range.
With only 2 touchdowns.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the point there, is that Fournette's probably getting slept on because he burned a lot of people last year. So I think, temper your expectations as far as like a top end RB1 like we thought he would be when he was drafted by the Jaguars. But like, let's talk about what he can be in this offense, especially if Jay Gruden can bring it to the next level. They bring in a guy like Laviska Shenault. We talked about him before on our rookie episode. This is a guy they can use all over the place as a big time weapon. They still have some wide receivers in that wide receiver room that can put up some, Dede Westbrook. You talk about some other guys that can help them out. So, Johnny, what's your take on Laviska Shenault? Is he going to be usable in redraft leagues this year?
I'm probably staying away from this year for redraft leagues. I do think that he'll have some value. I think he'll have games for sure. He's just too talented. I mean, this guy's player profile comp is AJ Brown. So come on, to sit here and say that he wouldn't have any fantasy impact at all would be a little ignorant on my part as a fantasy analyst person. So, so you definitely he's going to have value. I mean, even Dede Westbrook had value last year as well with DJ Chark blowing up. It might just be too inconsistent for this year one, but listen, Shenault, I really like him, and listen, the Jags are a really good team that is building something for the future. If they can get these pieces clicking, if Gardner Minshew can really get it going, then we could be looking at a really nice little offense here with some nice gems.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited, honestly, about this offense. And I think mostly I'm excited about, obviously, Shenault long-term, but I'm actually mostly excited about Minshew here. And I think people are honestly sleeping on Minshew, not just because he wears jean shorts and full denim outfits or he's got a mustache that slays every day, but I think that Minshew's actually got some tangible, like play action completion percentage last year was 71.6. His deep ball completion percentage was 45.1%. And you're talking about bringing in Jay Gruden. Johnny, let's talk about Jay Gruden for a second. He was the Bengals offensive coordinator from 2011 to 2013. And we saw Andy Dalton finish as the QB 15, the QB 12, and the QB number 5 during that time. So Minshew's got a chance to really explode here. But let's go even further in. I mean, if we're talking about Kirk Cousins, we forget Jay Gruden was the head coach for a lot of Kirk Cousins years leading up when they franchise tagged him before he got that payday in Minnesota. Honestly, he's probably sending Jay Gruden some checks on the side here because Jay Gruden got Kirk Cousins paid. You look at 2014 through 2019, Cousins finished as QB8, QB5, and QB6 in fantasy football. These are huge numbers, Johnny, and it bodes really, really well for Gardner Minshew. Now, we talked a little bit about above with Buffalo and how it may take some time for them to get there, especially you're going to need Shenault to kind of, develop. You're going to need DJ Chark to, continue to be good. But I really think there's some good things pointing here for Gardner Minshew. And 2020, I would not be surprised if Minshew finishes, top 8 at the QB position, because one, it's super deep, so a lot of guys can fluctuate. But we've just seen what's happened here. I will say, though, in those first years with Gruden, with Dalton, and with Kirk Cousins, that they weren't those top 5, top 12 years right away. So,
well, and if you look at what Dwayne Haskins did last year, not a pretty sight. No, in fact, he only had two top 5 performances under Jay Gruden, so that wasn't too exciting. But like you said, if you give it time, Jay Gruden is a good offensive coordinator. You also have to look, Gardner Minshew, there were several times he finished, hovering right around quarterback 12, quarterback 13. If you wait on quarterback, Gardner Minshew is going to be a guy that you're going to be able to stream on certain weeks for sure. I don't know if he takes a major step and finishes as a QB8 this year. That's an interesting take, but I definitely think, I wouldn't be completely surprised if that happened.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm not banking on Minshew finishing top 8. I'm saying he could.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.